The Conservatives have lost both by-elections to Labour, and the Tories are now on damage control. In the interviews this morning, we've seen the party chairman, Richard Holden, wanting people to focus on the economy the day after the country went into recession. We've seen Jacob Rees-Mogg trying to change the electoral rules by saying adding Reform votes to the Conservative votes means the Conservatives would have won. I mean, I don't quite know why we wouldn't then just add the Lib Dems to Labour's votes. I mean, I'm sure there's some logic there somewhere, if that's how he wants to play it. And finally, we've had the Prime Minister just completely deluded, thinking everything's going swimmingly and he has a plan, nobody else has a plan. If Labour doesn't have a plan, then you can't trust Labour not to have a plan, but they won and Conservatives didn't. But Conservatives have a plan and Labour don't have a plan, so, it's not very good news for Labour. I don't quite understand where he was going with what on earth he was talking, but here you are, there's dumb, dense and deluded.
But they want to see a different direction of travel now. They appreciate the government stood behind them to support jobs and families and small businesses, but I think they want to see that new lower tax direction of travel now.
I'm interested, though, you're focusing on the economy as the big positive to point to on a day you've lost two by-elections by significant swings, on the morning after it was confirmed that the economy's in recession. I mean, is that really the single biggest positive you can point to?
Well, what I'd say on that is that, look, we've entered a technical recession, as you say. I hope we'll be moving out of that more quickly. One of the issues that we've seen, though, the biggest issue that came up on the doorstep was around cost of living, was around inflation. That's what we've tackled quite a lot already, but we've still got further to go. We've seen inflation drop from 11.1% to 4%, but it's still above that 2% target.
The gist of this interview has been terrible results this morning. What can you do to get voters back? And just to leave on that note, the single thing that you want to focus people's minds on is the economy the day after you fell into recession.
Well, I think the country's fallen into recession. I think one of the things that I want to do is focus on...
Do you not take responsibility for that, as the government that's been in power for 14 years?
Of course, but what I want to do is see... and I also think that when we're facing issues like inflation, that's the number one issue that's been facing families. It's what people come to me in my own constituency surgery about, has been that rising cost of living. Well, we've taken some really tough but difficult decisions to deal with that over the last year or so. We're seeing inflation fall. We need it to go further. But I think on all of those metrics, we're moving in the right direction when it comes to inflation. We've got to go further. And when we've done that, we can see interest rates come down as well, which will be really helpful for working families across the country, allied with those tax cuts. And we've seen a start of that with the national insurance cut from 2% for everybody in work just in January. But we need to go further on that and show a clear direction of travel to the country as well.
It's not as bad as I'd expected. That if you add together the Conservative and the Reform Party vote, it's more than the Labour Party vote. Labour didn't get over 50%. And bear in mind, this was a seat Labour held throughout its period of government from 1997 to 2010. If it's not winning and winning strongly here in a by-election, then its prospects for the general election aren't that good.
Midterm by-elections are always difficult for incumbent governments, and the circumstances of these by-elections were, of course, particularly challenging. Now, I think if you look at the results, very low turnout, and it shows that we've got work to do to show people that we are delivering on their priorities, and that's what I'm absolutely determined to do, but also shows that there isn't a huge amount of enthusiasm for the alternative in Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, and that's because they don't have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you can't deliver real change. And when the general election comes, that's the message I'll be making to the country. Stick with our plan, because it is starting to deliver the change that the country wants and needs.
Just watching that little clip of Rishi Sunak trying to blame the poor results on midterm blues, when it's not even midterm anymore, shows he's got absolutely no political acumen. He hasn't got a clue what he's doing or how to change the way he does things. And if you want to see him doing exactly the same thing he's attacking Labour for, then you'll need to watch the videos on screen now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.